synthesis report provides an assessment of the current state of our climate system. It provides an idea, a pretty grim picture of what future impacts are in store for us if emissions continue on their current trajectory. And it also provides an extensive list of options, both in terms of climate mitigation as well as adaptation. It also highlights some of the barriers to implementing some of these options. This particular report is crucial because over the 5 years of the IPCC 6th assessment cycle, much has changed globally and geopolitically. Particularly, this report comes in the wake of some major global upheavals, starting with the coronavirus pandemic, which started in 2020, followed by the Russian war in Ukraine, which then led to a subsequent energy crisis, food crisis, and a lot of that upheaval is continuing even now. The synthesis report is essentially a final warning on 1.5 degrees Celsius. That is the threshold, the maximum amount of temperature rise above pre-industrial levels that scientists had predicted that if we cross that level, impacts on human life, other forms of life, and ecosystems would be catastrophic. The synthesis report shows that we are pretty much teetering on the edge of that precipice. Over the past century of emissions caused by industrialization and human activities, both in the form of burning of fossil fuels as well as deforestation, we have emitted enough excess greenhouse gases to warm the land and oceans by 1.1 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. The pre-industrial period is 1850 to 1900. So 1.1 degrees higher than pre-industrial levels on a climatic scale is massive. Countries have made certain efforts to decarbonize their economies, bring down their emissions. These commitments are known as nationally determined contributions, or NDCs, which are pledged under the UNFCCC. But the synthesis report shows that even if the NDCs announced by countries up until October 2021 are implemented, it's likely that we will cross the 1.5 degrees threshold during the 21st century itself. Today, we are already seeing worsening extreme weather events in the form of heat waves, droughts, sea level rise, flooding, as well as extremely erratic weather, which is having severe impacts on public health, on agriculture, on livability of our environment. These climatic extremes are likely to become even more widespread and pronounced if we blow past the 1.5 degrees Celsius level. The synthesis report focuses heavily on near-term emission reduction. We know exactly what we need to do. Global greenhouse gas emissions must be cut by 43% by 2030 compared to 2019 levels. That's pretty much halving of emissions as they are currently. This must also be accompanied by reaching global net zero CO2 emissions in the early 2050s. The good news is that feasible, effective, and low-cost options for both mitigation and adaptation are already available. The IPCC report mentions that several mitigation options, notably solar energy, wind energy, electrification of urban systems, and so on, are technically viable. Ultimately, it's a question of mustering up the political will, the political commitment from governments to ensure that these solutions are implemented on a massive scale globally. It's wealthier countries, industrialized countries, which are now advanced economies, who do have the highest potential for emission reduction. The report states that there is sufficient global capital to close the global investment gaps. What we need to do is overcome the barriers to redirect that capital towards climate action.